When Disney bought Star Wars in 2012, everyone from the casual fan to the die-hard Star Wars nerd was excited. Fans knew this meant we were going to get the first new Star Wars movies since Revenge of the Sith aired in 2005. And unlike the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy, these new Star Wars movies wouldn't be limited by the special effects of the 1970s or the corny dialogue written by George Lucas.
I don't like sand.
Everything was lined up perfectly for fans to get an amazing new Star Wars trilogy. Instead, we got a reboot of A New Hope in The Force Awakens, followed by two utter dumpster fire films in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. I'm going to have a video on each of the Star Wars sequel films, analyzing the good and bad about each movie, ranging from character development to plot holes to overall originality. In this video, we'll be looking at the first movie of the sequel trilogy, The Force Awakens. Where exactly did the First Order come from? Sure, I'm willing to go along with the idea of Kylo turning to the dark side and Snoke staying hidden, but what about the army of hundreds of thousands of stormtroopers? How did the New Republic not notice that? And it's not like it's a clone army either. Finn even says that all the stormtroopers were taken from their families at birth. The First Order would have had to have been training this army for at least 20 years or so at this point. And don't even get me started on Starkiller Base. This movie really expects us to believe the First Order built an entirely operational Death Star 100 times the size of the previous Death Stars without the New Republic knowing or doing anything about it? Rey uses a makeshift sled to slide down to her speeder. This means that instead of driving her speeder up the slope on her way in, Rey parked at the bottom of the hill and walked up a sandy slope while dragging a sled in the scorching sun.
I'm impressed. No one has been able to get out of you what you did with the map.
You might want to rethink your technique.
Kylo Ren uses the power of the Force to extract the location of the map from Poe's mind, but only does this after other torture methods fail. Couldn't Kylo have saved himself some time by just doing this in the first place?
BB-8 says he's on a secret mission. He has to get back to your base.
Apparently he has a map that leads to Luke Skywalker, and everyone's after it.
Luke Skywalker? I thought he was a myth. What?
Rey believes that Luke Skywalker and the entire Jedi Order is a myth. I can believe she might think Luke is made up, or at least exaggerated, seeing as he helps blow up 2 Death Stars, defeats Darth Vader, and becomes the most powerful Jedi ever. But how can she, or anyone for that matter, believe the Jedi are a myth? How many wars of lightsaber-wielding warriors have to be fought before people acknowledge it?
Ah! What about that ship?
That was garbage! The garbage will do!
The Millennium Falcon happens to not only be here in this dinky town on the junkyard planet of Jakku for the protagonist to find, it also manages to not get blown up while sitting completely exposed, even though the First Order pilots are blowing up every ship in sight. Then Han Solo happens to find the Millennium Falcon in the vastness of space 5 minutes after it leaves Jakku's surface. And sure, Han says he was able to track the Millennium Falcon when it took off, but for Han to get to the Falcon this quickly, he had to have already been nearby. And this is just one coincidence too many for me to believe it.
This fierce machine which you have built, upon which we stand, will bring an end to the...
This scene isn't so much a plot hole as it is Disney beating us over the heads with the fact that the First Order are the bad guys. Okay, we get it, Disney. Hux and the First Order are evil. They want to blow up planets and kill millions of people and rule the galaxy. Did you really have to go and draw the parallels to Hitler and the Nazis?
Goodness! Han Solo! It is I, C-3PO. You probably don't recognize me because of the red arm.
This scene exists only for a cheap bit between 3PO and Han, and seeing as 3PO's arm is back to normal in the next movie, I can't help but question, why is this scene in the movie to begin with?
Okay, how do we blow it up? There's always a way to do that.
Han's right.
Death Stars are so easy to blow up that the writers actually included dialogue making fun of how easy it is to blow up Death Stars.
The map, it is complete.
Luke.
In the next movie, we find out that Luke wants no part of helping the Resistance, training Rey, or trying to save Kylo, even though the Resistance is desperate for his help. If that's the case and Luke truly wanted to be left alone, why did he leave a map to his location in the first place?
It's in a droid. A BB unit.
Well then, if it's on Jakku, we'll soon have it.
I leave that to you.
The story begins with the First Order, aka the knockoff Empire, chasing after a droid that has something they want. Kinda like how the Empire was after R2-D2 in A New Hope to get back the stolen Death Star plans. When we're first introduced to the trilogy's protagonist Rey, she's living a poor, unfulfilling, and insignificant life on a desert planet before she learns about her ability to use the Force and circumstances force her to leave and join the war effort. Sounds kinda like Luke's backstory, doesn't it? Oh, and she has no parents, also like Luke. Except later in the trilogy, we're gonna find out that she actually is Palpatine's granddaughter, sorta like how Luke found out Vader was his father.
Maz is a bit of an acquired taste, so let me do the talking, and whatever you do, don't stare.
At what?
Any of it.
Wow, this place reminds me a lot of the cantina scene in A New Hope. That's right, everybody, another Death Star. But wait, this one is bigger, and it blows up 5 planets instead of just 1, so it's totally not ripping off the original trilogy. The Resistance base on Ilenium looks so stupidly similar to the Rebel base on Yavin 4, I'm convinced the writers are doing this on purpose.
The First Order. They're charging their weapon again now. Our system is the next target.
Oh my, without the Republic fleet, we're doomed.
What do you know, the bad guys are going to blow up the good guy base, so the good guys make a plan to send a bunch of X-Wings to destroy the Death Star. The mentor of the main character gets killed on the Death Star while the main character watches helplessly. If only the original trilogy had thought to do something like this with Luke's mentor, Obi-Wan. Oh wait. Death Star number 3 lasts about as long as Death Stars 1 and 2 before predictably getting blown up by a little X-Wing. Rey goes to find a Jedi in hiding to complete her training. Does Disney think we've never seen the other Star Wars movies before or something? Because this writing is such blatant plagiarism. If this can pass for an original movie, then I'd like to make a pitch to Disney for the next Star Wars trilogy. It's a story about a boy named Luke Skywalker who becomes a Jedi, blows up an even bigger Death Star, and defeats the Sith Lord Dark Mutter, who also turns out to be his mother. Rey outflies several fully trained TIE fighter pilots despite having never flown a ship outside of Jakku before, and definitely never in a situation where she's being shot at by skilled pilots.
You're afraid that you will never be as strong as Darth Vader.
Not only does Rey resist Kylo using the Force on her mind, she's also able to use the Force and get into his mind and see his thoughts and fears. Yep, that's right. This is the same character who thought the Force was made up until a half hour ago.
You will remove these restraints and leave this cell with the door open.
I will remove these restraints and leave the cell with the door open.
Rey remembers Jedi legends of using the Force and successfully performs a Jedi mind trick on a stormtrooper on her second try. This would be like if I remembered learning about Van Gogh's art one time and then I immediately painted a masterpiece. Just because you remember a story about Jedi using incredible powers does not mean you can suddenly imitate that power.
What happened to you? Did he hurt you?
Finn, what are you doing here?
We came back for you.
What'd he say?
That it was your idea.
How does Rey speak Wookiee? She's lived on the insignificant planet of Jakku her whole life. There is just so much wrong with this. As we've established pretty clearly at this point, Rey just learned what the Force was earlier this day. She's never been trained on how to use the Force. Kylo Ren, on the other hand, is the grandchild of Anakin Skywalker, the guy with the highest midichlorian count in the galaxy. Kylo has been trained by the most powerful Jedi to ever exist, Luke Skywalker, and the extremely powerful Palpatine clone, Snoke. How the heck does Rey have a stronger connection to the Force than Kylo in this scene? Rey proceeds to absolutely curb stomp Kylo in a lightsaber duel. And sure, Kylo was shot by a bowcaster a little bit ago, so he's not at 100% strength, but even a 20% healthy Kylo should cut down Rey in a few seconds. Lightsaber combat is extremely complex, and Rey has no idea what any of the 7 forms of lightsaber combat are or how to use any of them. This would be like if I went up against the #1 fencer in the world and won. Even if he had a pulled hamstring or a broken foot, a top fencer would cut me to ribbons in a few seconds because he's an expert and I wouldn't have a clue what I'm doing. Even though The Force Awakens had plenty of flaws, I still enjoyed the movie. I came away thinking, okay, this trilogy has potential. The characters have been established and Luke and Snoke are probably going to kick some serious butt in the next movie. Finn and Poe are cool characters, and maybe Rey will have more adversity in the next couple movies. Instead, we got this. This is a joke. But that's a topic for another video. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you all later.
Survive.